This video is going to be a little bit shorter than previous videos because I've received some comments stating that I should try to shorten up the videos. So to supplement the video, I've written a blog post about some of the topics that I'm going to discuss. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about, then I suggest you visit my blog and see what I have to say about these topics, because I think it would be very informative for anyone interested in the topics. And also, I spent a lot of time writing it, so I hope that you guys will enjoy it. Um, yeah, so I put the link in the About section, so go ahead and take a look if you're interested. First, let me talk to you a little bit about the semester, well, the term that is about to end here at University of the People. This term I took economics and globalization. Um, with economics, there was a little bit more math involved than I originally thought there would be, specifically because I'm mostly interested in macroeconomics. I like to talk about the money supply and trends, not really interested in personal finance or how businesses manage their money. Um, I guess to each their own. But overall, it was very informative. It was difficult to cram all of that information into a 9-week course. I think, and I think that University of the People is going to experience this throughout the next 4 years of my education here. I think it's going to be, some of the courses are just going to seem like they're cramming a lot of information into the 9-week courses. Um, I guess if you have an interest in economics, it's something that you would be exploring further. And I certainly have been doing a lot of that. You'll see with the information that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm definitely interested in economics and the global economics specifically. It was actually very good to take economics and globalization together because they seem to fit really well together. There were a lot of topics in the globalization course that we talked about that was helpful for me to have economics knowledge of, and I sort of used both of those topics interchangeably in the two courses. When I talked about something in globalization, it was helpful in economics and vice versa. So that was definitely, I mean, they definitely complemented each other very well. So if you're thinking about taking either of those courses, I recommend taking them together because it worked really well for me. Um, uh, my favorite my favorite part about the economics course was the part on Homo economicus, which is the way that they model, I guess, economics trends using this theoretical person who always acts in his own self-interest, and always acts rationally, but that's not how people act at all. So I just thought it was, I mean, it's a way to model economics trends. It's not supposed to be something set in stone, but I just thought it was humorous that there's this hypothetical person walking around who is somehow perfectly rational when it comes to the way that they spend their money. So yeah. Oh, and pro tip, this term I learned about, well, I had a thought that I would go on Google and search for speech to text readers. No, text to speech readers. Sorry, I got that backwards. And if you want to save yourself some time, I definitely recommend downloading one of those because it saved me a lot of time. I wish I had learned about this sooner. It will, if you download it, you can put the PDF into the reader and you can listen or follow along with the text as it reads it to you. It's not always perfect, but it's really helpful if you're having trouble focusing, at least at first. It really helped me a lot when I was, I mean, I work a lot, so sometimes I'm reading the text when I'm super tired, and it really helped a lot when I was doing that. So if you have trouble following along or staying focused, then I suggest downloading one of those. It helped me a lot. For globalization, the main complaint that I had about that course is they were dealing with a lot of out of date material, specifically when they were talking about the technology of globalization. It's probably going to be an issue as well in other courses. I just see that as happening because technology, of course, changes very rapidly. So if you have something that's even 5 or 6 years out of date, it's going to be a very different scenario. So but it was still informative. I mean, the course overall was still informative. Particularly, I learned a lot about the World Bank and IMF that I didn't know before. I mean, I knew people that know people that have worked there or currently still work there, because I live in the DC area, but it's not it's not as great as people would necessarily say that it is. I'm not going to get too much into that, but it was just really informative to learn about those institutions. The class itself was rather sparse, though. There were maybe one or two things due each week, which I feel like for a course that's so important, like globalization, I feel like there should have been at least more discussion among other people. I mean, it's great that I have other people in my classes that live in other countries that are not from the United States, but are from other developing nations or other nations that are, I have no idea what they live through in daily life. It would have been really great to talk about a lot of the topics more than what we had originally did in the course. Other than that, I mean, other than that, the course was very informative. They had a lot of information about different aspects of globalization, the health aspects, the technology, different financial institutions that were very enlightening to me that I didn't know previously. So it was overall a good course, I would definitely say. Okay, now let me get into the concept of dream time, which I talked about in a previous video very, very little. It's an Aboriginal concept, and what they say, I'm going to quote from a website here, the beginning of knowledge from which came the laws of existence. So Robin Hanson, who's an economics professor at George Mason University, equates this idea to our era, the current era that we're living in. So he suggests that we live in a era of immense discovery, but it's riddled with delusion. And what that means is there are a lot of things that people believe that are really maladaptive, things that would really not make it possible for people to live in a sustainable environment or to populate the world sustainably. So he's saying that could necessarily be, obviously it's going to cause some issues, but I believe this era is important and necessary because unbridled creativity is essential to learning and knowledge. So if you feel like you don't have the ability to say and do what you want, then you might not come up with something that could change the way the world works. I mean, that's something that's very important to be able to express and come up with new and different ideas, even if it happens to be wrong or unproductive in some way. It's important that you get them out anyway, because that's going to inspire and help other people in the future, would it not? I think it's really important that unbridled creativity is a part of the environment that we live in, regardless of the problems or situations it might bring. It's just really important to be able to feel free to do that. We're living in an era where we should feel responsible for molding the future. I mean, the kind of Dreamtime era that we are living in right now makes it possible for us to be able to mold our future. So that gives us the responsibility, and that makes it super important for you to be able to express the ideas that you have creatively and do so in a way that will help other people. And I personally think that blockchain technology can help us do that. And that is going to be the main focus of my video right now. Cryptocurrency. I know it sounds kind of strange, but I really think that cryptocurrency can help us in the future. And this is how. Okay, first of all, let me talk to you a little bit about what cryptocurrency is. It is decentralized currency built on a blockchain. And the key word here is decentralized, which means it does not have any interference whatsoever by a third party. No banks, no governments, no money transfer services, Nothing. I could send Bitcoin to somebody else as long as they have access to their wallet. I could send Bitcoin to somebody else directly, and they can send Bitcoin to me. I can receive it, they can receive it, everyone can send it. It's virtually unhackable. Blockchain technology is virtually unhackable, and the way that it's unhackable is if you wanted to hack the blockchain, you would need to not only hack the block the transaction occurred in, but also all previous blocks. And the blockchain is built upon, it just keeps going in a continuous chain. So that's physically impossible. I mean, even if you were to find a way to do that, it's really cost prohibitive to do that. You would spend a lot of time trying to figure that out, and then the returns might be minimal. Once everything is said and done, it would just be, it's really difficult. It would be really difficult to break this technology. A lot of people have a concern that it is anonymous, and Bitcoin is not fully anonymous. Bitcoin is, how can I explain this? Bitcoin is, it can be traced to an IP address. Not IP addresses are not stored on the blockchain, but with enough cyber sleuthing, the people who are interested in researching that can find out your IP address. So criminals, if they were to use it, they would have to be super careful to mask their IP address. Otherwise, they would risk being detected. There are currencies that are trying to be anonymous, but I think the benefits outweigh the risks here, and I'll get more into the benefits here as we go along. Japan has officially accepted Bitcoin as a method of payment, not as a currency yet, but as a method of payment. Japan's been going through a lot of financial turmoil. They have the highest debt to GDP ratio in the world right now, not the least of which is because of the tsunami that they have experienced, the earthquake and tsunami combination, which devastated them financially. They were experiencing some stagnation starting in the 90s, I believe. So they've been having a lot of trouble trying to get their economy moving. So I think that there's a correlation between adopting Bitcoin as a method of payment and trying to push the Bitcoin agenda with regards to its financial stability. Venezuela has been experiencing rapid inflation. Everyone's been talking about that as well, which is causing a lot of violence in that country right now, and a lot of people are turning to Bitcoin as a haven for that. People don't want to cart around barrels of money just to buy a loaf of bread, right? This is not post-war Germany, post-World War I Germany, but that's happening in many countries right now. Like the inflation rate in Venezuela, for example, I think it hit like 93% earlier this year. So it's getting to the point where people cannot afford to get their daily essentials, and if their needs aren't met, if a large enough people are not having their needs met, then you're going to have an issue on your hand. So many people in Venezuela are turning to Bitcoin to try to avert any further devaluation of their money. In Africa, many things are happening in Africa, actually. It's difficult to talk about Africa in general because there are so many different things going on in the different nations. Some nations have no problem whatsoever with technological adoption. Some have issues. But in general, the idea that I have for Africa is actually combines university of the people. I think that once you give, one of the problems in Africa with Bitcoin adoption is that there simply isn't enough education or awareness about it in Africa. So what University of the People, I'm hoping, is computer science graduates can be interested in this technology and learn about blockchain technology and then use blockchain technology to help lift themselves out of poverty. I think it's very possible that could happen, especially because a lot of not only in Africa but in other nations as well, the corruption and incompetence surrounding national fiat currencies, makes it difficult for people to advance themselves. And I think that era is coming to an end. I think people need to realize that there are alternatives, and Bitcoin is one of them. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. There are other blockchain, there are other cryptocurrencies, and there could even be more in the future. It just depends on what you want and how you want to structure it. So if there are people in Africa who can be educated by University of the People and use that education to figure out ways to use blockchain technology to make their economies better, I think that should happen. I think that people should be doing that. So that's like that was the main idea that I had for this video, was just to let people know that technology and blockchain technology can really help lift countries out of poverty. In Russia, it was banned. Bitcoin was banned, and then it was unbanned, and now I guess they want to make it official that it could be accepted as a method of payment as well. And that's one thing about banning something. Sometimes when you ban a book, an idea, a currency, whatever, it has the exact opposite effect, because it makes people curious about that thing. And in Russia, that actually did happen. I mean, you ban something, and then people are typing in Google, what is Bitcoin? And then suddenly you have people who might be inspired to purchase some themselves. So it has the exact opposite. When you ban something and you get other people interested in that, oh, why is this being banned? Oh, gee, look at this. This is something that's happening. So maybe this is a good idea. Let me start slow and get involved with this. So I think that, but I mean, Russia is definitely acknowledging now that it does have the potential to subvert the corruption that's going on in Russia. I mean, and other nations as well, because it's decentralized. The whole point of it is that it cannot be controlled by a third party. And when you give human beings or human institutions incentives to behave badly, they probably will. In India, recently there was a 500 and 1,000 note rupee banning. India is a cash-based society, so the rupee banning actually is having a very bad effect on the financial health of India. And so Indians are turning to Bitcoin as well to try to figure out how to operate without these notes that they need. I mean, a large percentage of their currency is in the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. So they need ways to buy things without using smaller bills. So what they're doing is they're turning to Bitcoin to see maybe this can help. So overall, I would say that I've been researching Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies over the past few weeks, and yesterday and today, I finally decided that I wanted to write a blog post about it and talk to you guys about it a little bit. So keep in mind, this is like the first time that I've really tried to address a large amount of people, and although I'm feeling a little anxious about it, but I'm doing it because I think these ideas are important. So yes, over time, I'm hoping that I might be a little more eloquent, so to speak, on video, but I really just urge you to listen to the ideas that I'm telling you and visit my blog and see if you are interested in any of the ideas that I'm talking about, and if you want to pursue the blockchain technology research in your country, then please do, because I think blockchain technology belongs to the people, and I think that is exactly, I feel like I'm talking to exactly the right people. I know my audience, and I know that you guys are brilliant and you can do it. So thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.